Death Stranding 2 on the beach is full of fascinating characters, but there might not be one more multifaceted than Fragile. Equal parts a leader for the Magellan's crew, a mother to Tomorrow, and a romantic partner for Sam, Fragile has come a long way from the first game, evolving from a former leader of a delivery company in search of a new purpose to a key cog in the effort to reconnect humanity. As the game progresses, Fragile pulls these three roles together harmoniously, and in so doing, demonstrates not only her affection for our protagonist, but helps establish a better, brighter future for all of mankind. The player is reintroduced to Fragile in the opening act of Death Stranding 2, when she tracks Sam to his shelter in Mexico. Sam's been hiding out here with Lou ever since they fled from the UCA, the United Cities of America, following the events of Death Stranding 1. Sam's taken all sorts of precautions to try to prevent them from being discovered, so naturally, Fragile's arrival isn't a welcome sight. Not at first, anyway. Our protagonist almost pulls a Rapunzel and hits her with a frying pan, fearing that she's a UCA lackey who's after Lou. But once Sam realizes that it's only Fragile, he eases up, and though it's brief, if you look close enough, you can see that Sam very nearly takes a step forward, as if he's tempted to embrace her. If you played the first game, then you know just how big a deal even being tempted to embrace another person is for Sam. He suffers from phobia, the fear of being touched, and though he spent the early minutes of Death Stranding 2 holding Lou, she's an exception. She's the force that helps Sam bring down the walls and barriers that separated him from the rest of humanity. He's come to view her as a daughter. Of course he's comfortable enough to embrace her. But for Sam to be so close to hugging Fragile, someone who is hinted at as a potential romantic partner for him, this early in the second game, that tells us that our protagonist is starting off this chapter in a far better place with his phobia than the one we left him in back in the UCA. Sam then welcomes Fragile into his shelter, and shows her how much Lou has grown up in the last 11 months, before Fragile gets around to the purpose of her visit. She's now in charge of a group called Drawbridge, a civilian company that aims to reconnect regions of the world outside of the UCA. To that end, Fragile wants Sam to help her bring Mexico onto the chiral network the same way he did with the United States. Sam's hesitant to agree, a topic we'll dive into when Sam gets his own video at the end of this series, but he does ultimately decide to go through with it, in large part because Fragile promises to take care of Lou while he's gone. For Sam, the fact that he's willing to let Fragile do this at all speaks volumes. As any parent will tell you, leaving your kid behind with someone else is an incredibly difficult thing to do. Even if you know the person is completely safe and is going to take good care of them, you feel guilty for not being there with your child, like you failed them for no reason other than because you had somewhere else to be and something else to do. Taking care of your child for a good parent feels like the only thing you should ever be doing, especially when your child is as young as Lou is here. You worry about the moments you might miss, first words, first steps, and similar milestones, and fear that your absence might make your child think you've abandoned them. And thus, choosing the right person to entrust your child to at a time like this is of far more importance than just about any other decision you might make. All of those negative thoughts are no doubt running through Sam's mind as he turns Lou over to Fragile, but the fact that he still goes through with it tells us, as clearly as possible, that Sam really does have a tremendous amount of faith in Fragile. Enough faith that he's willing to do as she asks, and embark on a journey to link yet another country onto the chiral network. When you combine this point, Sam's willingness to let Fragile take care of Lou, with the near embrace from earlier, what you get is the suggestion that Sam and Fragile's greater bond in Death Stranding 2 is picking up right where the first game left off. Baby Lou was the catalyst for Sam's rekindled bond with humanity. His connection with her allowed him to begin reconnecting with a variety of other people, and Sam's blossoming link with Fragile was one of the biggest beneficiaries of this growth. At multiple points in Death Stranding 1, Sam and Fragile seemed to be on the verge of entering into a romantic relationship. But if you look closely at the character histories and dynamics at play here, it was always clear that it was going to take more time and nurturing before anything could develop further between them. Because as mentioned in the first game, Sam is a demisexual. Every now and then I hear from folks who are surprised about this, so for the sake of clarity, here's your proof. It can be found in report number 5, written by Lucy during her treatment of Sam, and you can acquire it by completing Standard Order number 585 up in Mountain Knot City. It's a little awkward for Lucy to say that she diagnosed Sam's demisexuality. You can't really diagnose someone's sexuality. We wouldn't say that someone was diagnosed as straight or gay after all, but I'd wager it's just one of those word choice blunders we sometimes see in Kojima's writing, like how everyone says the DHV Magellan's full name when they refer to it, or how multiple characters use phrases like genuine article. Still, no matter how you slice it, the point is, Sam's a demisexual, and that shit's canon. We'll discuss this further in Sam's own video, but this is actually a very smart decision on Kojima's part if you ask me. One of the best things about the Death Stranding universe, in my opinion, is how tightly woven together its themes are. Between all of its use of ropes, sticks, and knots, and the countless ways we see Sam reconnect humanity through the network and his deliveries, Death Stranding, at times, feels more like a novel created by a singular mind than a video game created by a team of people. All the themes come together to paint a clear picture, one that's further reinforced by Sam's demisexuality. For him to be unable to be intimate with another person until he's made a lasting bond with them is about as Death Stranding as it gets. In any case, back to Fragile, I bring this up because if Sam and Fragile are ever going to enter into a relationship, if Sam is ever going to be able to be intimate with her, then their bond is going to have to first be cemented through moments like this. Moments where Sam welcomes Fragile into his world and allows her to support him with the things that matter to him. And of course, nothing matters more to Sam right now than Lou. So by taking this step here at the beginning of Death Stranding 2, Fragile isn't just returning Sam's favor with a favor. She's taking actions that will allow the relationship to grow as well. In most adult relationships, intimacy comes before playing house. For Sam, he needs to play house before he can become intimate with anyone. While Sam's away on his Mexican journey, playing house is indeed what Fragile does. She does an excellent job of taking care of Lou, and sends Sam frequent updates on how things are going through the social Strand network. She is, in every way, adopting the role of a mother, reporting back to her, quote, husband about how their kid is doing while he's away on a work trip. It's an incredibly charming dynamic, one that makes you long for the best for these characters. Truly, it would have been wonderful if things could have lasted this way forever for the three of them. If they could have kept living this simple little life, Sam taking odd porter jobs here and there, Fragile running her business, and Lou growing up in the dedicated care of the both of them. But sadly, that simply wasn't meant to be. Before Sam can return home, he receives an automated warning that his hideout is under attack. Desperate to save the two people he cares about the most, Sam rushes back, but by the time he arrives, he finds only a wounded and unconscious Fragile, whom he brings back to his shelter. Once she wakes up, Fragile explains what happened. When the hideout came under attack, she attempted to escape with Lou, speeding off into the desert on her bike. But the attackers caught up with her, and though she tried to jump the both of them to safety, she couldn't pull it off. Due to the limitations on teleporting, which is essentially what jumping is, that exist in the Death Stranding universe, she found that she couldn't jump out with another person, only her equipment. But she can't think of Lou that way, not anymore. This is critical from a character development perspective. Back in the first game, Fragile was one of many people who did look at Lou, back when she was a BB, as equipment, as a tool. Now she views Lou as a person, a full-fledged human being. It speaks not only to her growth, but her blossoming bond with Sam, and how the time she spent with this little one allowed her to evolve into the maternal figure she is in this scene. Furthermore, the fact that Fragile tried to make this jump at all says a great deal in and of itself. Early on in Fragile's initial meeting with Sam, she revealed that she had to track him down the old-fashioned way because she's been suffering from jump shock, a condition that came about as a result of her performing too many jumps back in the first game. Continued jumping is hazardous to her health, and thus, by making this jump to begin with, Fragile is demonstrating the hallmark of all parental instincts, a willingness to sacrifice yourself and your own well-being for your child. Despite the fact that it all appears to end in tragedy, at least in here and now, I can't say enough about how significant all of this is for Fragile herself. In her brief time with Lou, she really grew to love that little girl, and developed into a true maternal figure in her life. So much so that she bucked the traditional mindset about BBs in the Death Stranding universe, and put her life on the line to protect her. But unfortunately, despite her best efforts, Fragile couldn't save Lou. Fragile's story becomes muddled at this point, and intentionally so. The ambiguity of her narration is really what makes so much of the game's plot work in general. The imagery is clear. Fragile failed to make the jump, and Lou died at the hands of the attackers. It's a revelation that's heartbreaking enough as it is, but if we follow the thread of Fragile joining Sam as a new parent and playing house with him, it's even more tragic. Thanks to the time they spent together in Mexico, Fragile is, effectively, about to experience this loss right alongside Sam. While there's no doubt that our protagonist is going to feel it worse for obvious reasons, she's surely going to be hit with some of those same feelings. Loss, guilt, regret, in her own way, something we'll see firsthand in just a few minutes. A month passes between Lou's death and the game's next scene, when Fragile visits Sam, who's now so depressed that he's tried to take his own life multiple times, something that doesn't work thanks to his status as a repatriate. Fragile tries to comfort him, but it's little use. Unless she has a time machine, nothing's going to bring back the old Sam, the Sam who had at last started trusting other people again. But what Fragile does offer Sam is a mission, something to take his mind off the pain, something to focus on instead of his overwhelming sorrow. Fragile explains that what Sam did in Mexico created a plate gate, a cross-continental portal that has opened up access to Australia. And if Australia can be brought onto the chiral network, then the thinking is that yet another plate gate will open, creating a pathway to explore yet another continent. So essentially, what Sam did in the prologue is the beginnings of a domino effect of connectivity, and the hope is that Sam can keep the pieces falling down until the whole world is back online. In offering Sam this mission, Fragile both reinforces one of Death Stranding 2's core themes and her role as Sam's maternal counterpart. I've said this in several of my Death Stranding 2 videos at this point, but when you consider the way Sam so quickly dives into his mission after Lou's death, it seems to suggest that Kojima is telling us that one remedy to loss and tragedy is purpose and good company, fruitful work to engage in, and positive people to surround yourself with. We all grieve in different ways, but I don't think he's wrong about this. Having something so engrossing to focus on can be a welcome relief from the pain, even if it does little to erase it. By presenting this task to him, Fragile is certainly trying to do what she can to help distract Sam from the turmoil raging inside his heart. And as for Fragile herself, if we continue down the path of the two of them as Lou's effective parents, what you get is a demonstration of the way that in any family dynamic, parents, siblings, father and son, mother and daughter, you're going to see a variety of responses to tragedy. Fragile gets right to work after Lou's death. For her, Drawbridge becomes an even bigger deal than it was before. Sam, on the other hand, wallows in depression for some time before emerging from his shelter again. Fragile is the mother who can't stop moving after loss, while Sam is the father who needs to withdraw. It's a dynamic I've seen in the real world myself. In the past few years, I've taught 2 students who lost their parents in the middle of the school year. One dived right into the grieving process. He delivered the eulogy at his father's funeral, something I know I couldn't have done myself at just 13 years old. I went to every counseling group that was offered to him. The other student still hasn't spoken to me about the loss of his mother, aside from a passing mention that he and his father were going to visit her side of the family for Christmas last year. Support groups have been offered to him, but he's declined them every time. He's a creature of habit and prefers to focus on his academics while he's at school. All of this is to say that people really do grieve differently, with some moving on quickly and returning to tasks and structure, while others need to mourn more visibly and openly. What works for one person won't work for another, and I truly love that in Death Stranding, a game all about humanity and human connection, that we see that dynamic playing out in real time with Fragile and Sam. Still, there is a bit of, I think you could say, aloofness and distance to Fragile's character at this point in the game. Even considering what I just mentioned, I think it's fair to say that she, perhaps, moved on from Lou's loss far more quickly than she realistically should have. Again, I think it's entirely attributable to what I just mentioned, but as we'll see later, there is another angle to Fragile's personality at this point in the game that we won't understand until later. Of course, this mission for Drawbridge has greater significance in Fragile's character arc. Before the events of Death Stranding 1, Fragile ran a delivery company known as the Fragile Express. But after Fragile's encounter with Higgs, where he tricked her into destroying Middle Knot City, her company came to be viewed as terrorists, Fragile herself as a criminal. The Fragile Express meant a great deal to her. It was a company her father started, and part of the promise he and his wife made to her to help rebuild America. Losing the Fragile Express meant the loss of her purpose, her mission, her aim. But now, thanks to Drawbridge, she has a chance to start something new, to lead an outfit of her own again, and to wear a really cool hat. Appropriately, so many of the core Drawbridge members, like Tarman and Rainey, are people she recruited and brought onto the team. Sam's old buddies, like Heartman and Deadman, are there as well, of course, and though their contributions still make Drawbridge what it is, Fragile remains the group's leader, the glue that binds them all together. As someone who enjoyed her journey in Death Stranding 1, and especially her vengeance against Higgs, it's great to see how much she's grown here in the second game, and how she's evolved into an effective head honcho. Though that is primarily how Fragile operates for the bulk of the game, as the boots-on-the-ground leader for Drawbridge and the GHV Magellan, the story of Death Stranding 2 remains one about human connection and parenthood. And thus, when Tomorrow comes aboard, it's Fragile who rises to the occasion and becomes a maternal figure in her life. She names her, comforts her, and works with her when she becomes upset, and teaches her what she can about what it means to be human. Critically, when the group debates trying to send Tomorrow back from whence she came, to the realm of the dead, she's the one who takes charge and makes it very clear that they won't be surrendering Tomorrow. It's a moment where her two roles, as a leader of the crew and a mother, coalesce, allowing us to see how far she's come in both aspects of her character development. Fragile continues to balance these two roles throughout the rest of the game. We see her step up to lead the Magellan's crew on their deliveries and efforts to connect Australia to the chiral network, and they go right back to mothering Tomorrow. There's plenty to be said about the way Kojima tends to write his female characters, And I'll be the first to admit that I'm probably not the best person to dive into that particular topic. But I do think Fragile is one of his better written female characters, and maybe one of his better written characters overall, honestly. She fulfills multiple roles throughout the game, and serves a different purpose in the lives of different characters. We see these roles come together in a strong way again towards the beginning of the third act, when Sam at last realizes that Lou isn't really in the BB pod. What he's been seeing, up until now, has just been a grief-induced hallucination. It's revealed that the entire crew knew this all along, something Fragile and Dollman come together to explain. They tell Sam that they never meant to trick him or lie to him. They just wanted to give him the time he needed to process Lou's death, and a mission to occupy him while he grieved. Though it's never explicitly stated, given that Fragile is the team's leader, it seems to me that it was ultimately Fragile's call to go about it this way. I do think there's an interesting conversation to be had about whether or not this was the right thing to do. Fragile, and by extension the crew, do help Sam lie to himself for much of the game. It's not clear how long Death Stranding 2 lasts, narratively. I'm guessing it's a few weeks, or maybe a month or two. And that's quite a while to keep up a lie. But then again, what else were they going to do? Tell Sam that he was wrong? That might have led to an entirely different kind of trauma for Sam. Let me know what you think about this whole situation down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Whether it was an ethical decision or an unethical one, ultimately it seems to have been the right one for Sam. Heartbroken though he is, he doesn't seem to be mad at them. He seems to understand that the crew, and Fragile, had his best interests at heart. That last part, understanding that Fragile had his best interests at heart, is critical. Because although we haven't seen it in several hours of gameplay time at this point, there were tons of moments, back in the original Death Stranding and the opening salvo of this game, that a relationship seemed to be blossoming between Sam and Fragile. And given Sam's sexuality, if this relationship is going to resurface again, then it's going to have to be founded on emotional connections with her, like understanding that she lied to him for his own benefit. All of this culminates after Tomorrow is kidnapped by Higgs. In the aftermath, Fragile demonstrates, for one last time, her role as the leader of the crew, as a mother to Tomorrow, and as a partner for Sam by offering to jump the crew to whatever beach Higgs has taken her to. It's a moment of selflessness for her people, and the young blonde-haired girl she's come to look at as a daughter. As mentioned earlier, Fragile's been suffering from jump shock. Jumping them here could cause her irreparable harm, maybe even kill her. But for the sake of her team and Tomorrow, she goes through with it, just as any leader and any mother would. To pull off the jump, Sam needs something connected to Amelie, and he ends up coming aboard the Magellan with the picture of him, Bridget Strand, and pregnant Lucy. It's something of a symbol of his own trauma. These are two women he had a complicated relationship with. Bridget was like a mother to him, but she lied to him extensively, and Lucy was his romantic partner, but she cheated on him. And as he's holding this symbol of trauma, Sam, in order to help facilitate the jump, is asked to make a stronger connection with Fragile than ever before, which he does by kissing her. To be clear, this does serve a narrative function. The strength of their bond is what empowers Fragile enough to make the jump, despite her jump shock syndrome. But for Sam personally, it's a demonstration of how comfortable Fragile has made him feel. Again, he's a demisexual, and he has phobia, the fear of being touched. For him to have reached this point where he feels comfortable enough to make out with her like this speaks to how far their relationship has come. There's still plenty of room for the two of them to grow, but he trusts her enough and has built enough of an emotional connection with her, thanks to the rapport throughout the two games, to be intimate with her. And no doubt, it was the way she looked after Lou in Mexico as a mother, the way she helped him move on like a leader by giving him a new purpose, and the way she allowed him to grieve on his own terms that enabled him to reach this point. But unfortunately, once the crew has arrived on the A-Pass beach, Fragile falls unconscious. Though Sam is clearly concerned for the fate of the woman he's now built a strong enough of a connection with to potentially become a new partner for him, there's no time to slow down, as he's forced to dive headfirst into his final battle with Higgs. Though Sam does manage to defeat Discount James Hetfield and rescue Tomorrow, by the time he returns to the Magellan, tragedy has struck his life once again. As it turns out, Tomorrow isn't merely unconscious, but dead. And not only that, she's been gone for some time. Back at the beginning of the game, when Higgs fired this shot here, the bullet didn't strike Lou. It struck Fragile. But rather than kill her outright, it separated her ka, her spirit, from her ha, her body. It's something of a callback to the story of Lakna and Mama from the first game, where her body and spirit had also been divided into two individuals. In this case with Fragile, we've been talking with her ha, her body, her physical form, while her spirit, her ka, had already fully passed away over in the realm of the dead. This is why Fragile helped deliver Tomorrow to us on Higgs' beach. That was her spirit, still on the other side, over in the realm of the dead. What we've been talking to all along, ever since Higgs and his minions attacked Sam's shelter, has been Fragile's ha. For Sam, it's yet another heartbreaking revelation. At this point in time, he still thinks he lost Lou. Now he knows Fragile is gone too. Though it certainly won't erase what he lost in her, I do believe that Sam would, ultimately, be proud of the game's final discovery about the good works of Fragile. Because as Death Stranding 2 winds to a close, and the Magellan's crew tries to jump the ship back to the real world, Tomorrow makes contact with the spirit of Neil, the rival porter who served as Lucy's affair partner. Through him, we learn that when Fragile was struck by Higgs' bullet, it was Lou, not Fragile, who jumped the both of them to the realm of the dead. While Fragile's body, her Ha, was left behind for Sam to discover, Fragile's Ka, her spirit, picked Lou up and carried her to Neil, who decided to atone for his own misdeeds by becoming her protector and ensuring that she made her way to her true father. In doing so, Fragile proves, as clearly as she can, that she is indeed equal parts a leader, a mother, and a partner for Sam. Like a leader, she entrusted an important duty to someone else when she was incapable of doing so herself. Like a mother, she did what any good parent would by placing her adopted daughter in the care of someone she knew would protect her. And as a partner for Sam, she made certain that he'd be able to reunite with his little girl somehow, some way down the line. And that's what makes Fragile so important to Death Stranding 2. Thanks for watching. Huge thanks to Dorian Piano, AmiRReza Piano, and Michael Matat for allowing me to use their piano covers for this video. To check out all three of these amazing artists, just follow the links down below in the description box. Big shout out to all my Silver and Gold tier YouTube channel members and Patreon subscribers, including James Pruitt, Little Caesar, Reed, Bethonian, Anna Novikova, Sean Bobby, Green, and Draco Woloski, who get early access to these videos thanks to donations of $5 to $10 a month. See you next time, and go birds!